And there are no save points. There are no save points in this game. There are only two ways you can save your game. You can save it at an inn. Anytime you rest up at an inn, it saves your game. And you can save out in the field by using a tent or a cabin or a house. But there are no save points in dungeons. Once you get into a dungeon, you have to finish that dungeon. If you die at any point, then that's all gone. That's wasted. But in a sense, I almost kind of liked that too, because it almost made it feel more like a real quest in that sense. That I really had to prepare before I left town, I had to make sure, do I have all the items I need? Do I have all the weapons and magic spells? Am I really prepared for this? And it almost felt like going on a real voyage. And you get to a certain point where, like, okay, am I at the point of no return here? Like, if I'm getting the crap beaten out of me right now, do I have enough power to get out of this place, or should I go farther in and see if I can finish this up? And it feels like you're really making real decisions here, rather than having these sort of safety nets for you. It does make it a lot harder. Especially, I remember, like, in the Marsh Cave is a real rude awakening. I think that might be the only place where I died. I was under level going into the Marsh Cave, thinking, no, I still got this. I'm fine. I've done this before. This will be easy. And I died I died at the boss at the end. The four wizards guarding the chest. They killed me. I had to do the whole thing over again. And believe me, I was better prepared the next time and for all the dungeons afterwards. So yeah, it does sort of test you and make you think and prepare. And then of course people complain about the grinding. That you got to do all these random encounters and grind and grind and grind and grind. To be honest, I mean that's the way I remembered it too. That's part of the reason I didn't play it again. Was it's so tedious. I think I grinded a lot more in Final Fantasy IV than I did in this game. There's really only one spot. And again, that's before the Marsh Cave. That's like the big spike in difficulty. Is everything starts costing more. You don't have it. It's mostly money. I mean, granted, you will need the experience in the Marsh Cave, but what forces you to stop there and grind is because you just can't afford anything. And that's almost kind of cool too, because there's so many. It feels like most games, I always have enough money to do whatever I need. And I never really feel like money is an option. Like, it's like, I can't really... Yeah, it doesn't require you to be smart about money. Granted, this game doesn't really either. Towards the end, you have so much money, you're just throwing stuff away. Because I maxed out on money before the game was over. It was like 99,000, 999,999 or something like that. And I was just opening these chests. They give you so much money in dungeons in this game, like 125,000 in a chest towards the end, and like I can't do anything with it. I don't have room for any more. The only real thing game mechanic that annoyed me is, and anybody who's played this game is going to know exactly what I'm talking about, is buying heal potions. That is the most tedious thing in this game. Okay, you know how in future role-playing games, you'll have a heal potion, and then later on in the game, once your characters get more HP, you'll get better heal potions that restore more HP than the previous one did. And when you go into a store, you go into the item list and it asks you how many of them do you want. You choose how many you want, and you buy them, and that's it. And it's simple and it's easy. Well, that's not the way it works in this game. There's only one type of heal potion in this game. It's just heal. And it restores about 30 HP. And you never get a better type of healing item in the game. And the best part is, you always want to have 99 of them. From the Marsh Cave on, you always want to have 99 because your ability to use magic is kind of limited. I'll get to that in a second. So you always want to have as many as you can because you obviously will need them if they only do 30 HP, restoration apiece. When you go into a store, it asks you, what do you want to buy? You want to buy or leave? You say buy. It gives you a list of things to buy. You choose heal potion. Do you want to buy this? Yes. And there, you just bought one heal potion. Now you got to do it 98 more times. You can't tell it how many you want to buy. You have to buy them one at a time. What do you want to do? Buy. What do you want to buy? This. Do you want to buy this? Yes. What do you want to do? Buy. What do you want to buy? This. Are you sure? Yes. You have to do that 99 times every time you want to stock up on heal potions, and that does get kind of maddening. So that is a game mechanic they probably should have thought through a little bit better. The magic system, people always complain about that. It doesn't use magic points like most of the other Final Fantasy games do. It's actually kind of cool. And if it wasn't for the fact that, as I said before, the magic stat is kind of broken, it's actually a really interesting system. Rather than having MP, where each spell costs a certain amount of your magic points, and you can use spells until you run out of magic points, spells are divided up, aside from white and black magic, into 8 different levels. And there are 4 spells of each level of each type. And each magic-using character can learn 3 spells of each level. Each level has its own set of magic charges. So I think at the start of the game, your magic characters have 3 level 1 spell charges, or maybe 2, something like that. And they don't have any of any other level. And as they gain levels, they gain more spell charges. Like, say in the next level, the level 1 goes up to 4 charges, and then suddenly their level 2 opens up to 1 charge. And it keeps on opening up as you progress through the game. And that means that you can use any combination of level 1 spells 4 times, and then you run out. And you can't use any of the spells in that row once you run out. And there aren't any magic restorative items in the game except for houses, which you can only use on the world map. So it really, again, it limits you, but it challenges you too, because you can't just say, oh, there's only one spell I like, I'm going to use that over and over and over and over and over again to the exclusion of every other spell in the game. No, you still only have say 5 chances to use that spell. Period. That's it. And it's really interesting. It's not bad. It's challenging, but I wouldn't say it's bad. And I don't know. It just really got me excited. Even though I'm usually more interested in the stories in RPGs, it really got me excited about building a party. You choose 4 party members out of choices of 6. You can choose a fighter, a black belt, thief, black mage, white mage, or red mage. And the party you pick determines what kind of game you're gonna have. And I've never played like a tabletop RPG before. I've only ever played console RPGs. But this to me felt a lot like what playing like a D&D type of game would be. And I've read that the original Final Fantasy took a lot of elements from D&D, like elemental weaknesses, and even a lot of the bestiary, I think, comes from Dungeons and Dragons. That's what I read. I don't know for sure, because like I said, I haven't played D&D. But it felt more like me and my pixelated friends are getting together and going on a quest, rather than telling a giant huge narrative. But even so, the story is really good too, for what it is. And I think that ties into the game mechanics as well, because even though people say that it's really too hard, there's no sense of balance, and the difficulty curve spikes dramatically, it really does open up in a really sort of kind and gentle way. It gives you this one little strip of land. It gives you one town, one castle, and one dungeon. It gives you one simple quest: rescue the princess. And it gives you an area to wander around, earn money, engage in fights, and it takes care of all. You basically learn how the game works in this very simple, easy to manage part. And then once you do that, the world opens. You can go across the bridge to this new section of the world, and so I think it actually does get you acclimated pretty easily. But also, just in terms of the story, that first section, it feels like a tutorial level, and you'll think it is a tutorial level. And I'm gonna go ahead and get into spoilers here. So, it's a 26-year-old game. Come on, people. And it's interesting because, and I've heard people make this comparison, that feels like Final Fantasy's way of telling the other adventure games that we got a better story than you, is that, you have like your Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Brothers and Dragon Quest, which is all about, oh, save the princess. Well, saving the princess is the first thing you do in Final Fantasy. That's the very first quest you have. It takes you about half an hour, and then you move on to better things. And so you sort of think of that as your little tutorial level, and the sort of thing you write off. You beat Garland, and you move on, and then the real quest begins. You don't even see the title screen until you finish that first quest. The name Final Fantasy does not appear in the game until after you beat Garland. And so you kind of forget about that, and it's just like, okay, that's that thing that helped get me into the game. But it turns out the big twist of the game is that everything ties back into that first quest. That's the epicenter of all the activity that's destroying the world. The Four Fiends powers conversion under the Temple of Fiends, and if you've been paying attention to the name Temple of Fiends, you might have been able to guess that. And the Garland is actually in a different form called Chaos is actually the main villain of the game. And it's not a huge, extremely detailed, complex storytelling, but that is pretty interesting. That is pretty creative, I think. Where you have this sort of little, thing that you just sort of dismiss as nothing that ends up, everything ties back into this. So yeah, that's Final Fantasy for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and for those people who think that it's too hard, that it's not fun, that it's just too outdated, it actually holds up pretty well. I mean, it's still very much playable, and that even surprised me, as I was going into it expecting to have a really sort of tedious and unpleasant and and gnashing of my teeth time as I got killed, my butt handed to me over and over again in battle, but it really wasn't that bad, and it kind of makes me wonder what direction I want to go in this video series next, because I sort of been thinking of, because again this is Final Fantasy Memories. I've never played 2 and 3 before, and so I was thinking I'd probably go to 5 next, since I've done 1 and 4. But now I'm kind of interested in playing more NES 8-bit era RPGs, and so I'm wondering if I should go ahead and play Final Fantasies 2 and 3 for the first time. I have Dawn of Souls, but I've never played the version of 2 on it, because again I always want to play the original version first to see what that's like. I've always been really afraid of 2. I'm not gonna lie, because of its extremely different leveling system. And I'm afraid that I'm just going to fail miserably at it. And also that 3 is the hardest of the NES games. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do next. If I'm going to do 2 or if I'm going to go ahead and move on to 5. I'm not entirely sure. I do want to say one more thing. Despite the stuff I was saying about this, I have to admit there is a really nice visceral thrill about going to a weapon shop and having to open up this giant flowchart and look through stuff. It's not the way I'd prefer to play games, but there is something kind of cool and fun about having to open this thing up and look through and find and do research. Maybe I'm just insane, but I don't know. It's kind of satisfying in a weird way. So if you've played the original Final Fantasy, please share your own Final Fantasy memories with me, and I'll see you next time. Probably be a little bit longer, because especially I don't know what game I'm going to be playing next. But I'll see you next time on Final Fantasy Memories. See you later!